2 milligrams in a Xanax, trace amount of fentanyl in a Xanax could kill somebody. They might not know. The objective is not to take the 16-year-old with a contaminated Xanax to jail. That's not the goal. The goal is to terrify her into not buying it. And the goal is to dry up the source of it on the streets.
That's just giving parents kind of a say and to kind of have like what their kids learn in school, like not control everything, obviously.
I mean, it sucks, but they're like they're broken people, like that are homeless without a house or they're doing drugs. Something happened, you know.
Yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Totem Podcast. Like always, we got Eric here with us today.
How are you doing? Just remember, guys, we are on YouTube and Spotify. Probably listening to this on YouTube, as you should be. That's the preferred platform. But yeah, guys, if you guys like the conversations we're having and the guests we have on, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and just share with one other person. And you also got to click subscribe and make sure to hit the bell to be notified every single time we have a brand new guest on our show.
Yeah, so today's guest is like we're coming around the corner for all this stuff coming in, and she's a very important guest. She got a big voice in what she's doing. So Katie Lehr, Colorado. She's running for Colorado District 49.
Correct.
Katie Lehr, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I had a great day. It was a beautiful day. I played a little tennis this morning and paid some bills that I've been neglecting, cleaned out my desk. My husband and I, as you know, own a small general contracting business, so I do that when I'm not running for office. And so it was a good day. Got a little caught up.
That's good. So for the people that don't know who Katie Lehr is, could you give us a quick breakdown just of like who you are, kind of?
I came out to Colorado in the late 80s, 89, to go to grad school. I got an MBA. And when I first came to Colorado, I didn't particularly care for it, to be honest. I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm from a big family back east, and I assumed that I would come out here, get my MBA, and then go back to Philadelphia. And, you know, as things happen, you meet people, you make friends with people. I got a job right out of grad school in a manufacturing company in Longmont. They manufactured flow meters, and I did cost accounting for them. Then things happened. I met people. I met my husband through another guy that I started a small business with. We designed and manufactured very high-end audio equipment. And my husband was roommates with the chief designer, and that was how I met my husband and got married, had 3 kids. So next thing you know, I'm basically from Colorado. As my husband says, you've lived here longer than you lived in Philadelphia. And I love it here. I love the state. I love the people. I love Philadelphia too. Actually, what I really love is America. And yeah, I've driven all over the United States, and Colorado is beautiful. Southeastern Pennsylvania is extremely beautiful too, but there are so many beautiful places to live in this country. It's really rather astonishing. Not just on the coast, a lot of really beautiful spots in the middle. Yeah,
so I just wanted to ask you, like, because me and Eric always have what we talk about, the career politician, you know, but you have like a background that you guys got a contracting business. Mm-hmm. What do you guys exactly do, if you don't mind?
We build very high-end residential homes. So only residential homes, one, maybe 2 or 3 at a time, but these are very, very custom homes, and we build pretty much exclusively in North Boulder. It just worked out for us. That was the way our business evolved. And these are houses that I'll just go ahead and spill the beans. Kimball Musk lives in one of them, Elon's brother. Pretty affluent people who know exactly what they want. And, my husband is an extremely good builder. He's probably one of the best builders in the state of Colorado. And we're about to retire from that. He's ready to be done with it, which is sort of funny timing that we're ready to kind of peel off from that level of effort. And then I jumped into the race for HD 49, had to have a primary, and then I won the primary, and then all of a sudden I'm like, now I got to run against the incumbent. And it's just been like being, lathered up in Vaseline and shot out of a cannon. I mean, it's just been one thing after another, mostly things I don't actually know how to do, that I'm having to learn how to do. But it's been really interesting and fun because my county, HD 49, covers all the way up to the border of Wyoming, western Larimer, western Boulder County, so that's Lyons and Nederland, unincorporated Boulder County where I live, part of Table Mesa, west of Broadway, and then all of Gilpin and all of Clear Creek. And
That's a huge area.
it's really huge.
I was
think
looking
it's-
at the map the other day, and it's a big area.
I think it's one of the biggest House districts.
Okay.
I haven't confirmed that, but people, they're always kind of like, oh yeah, that's a tough one. So, without any money, begging for dollars here and there to drive all over Larimer, drive up back and forth to Gilpin and Clear Creek, which I have to say, I've met some of the nicest people in my entire life going up to Gilpin and Clear Creek and Larimer. Just people, had I not run for office, I never would have met, and now I can't imagine my life having not met them. They're just huge bonuses, huge additions. The woman who runs the Gilpin Republican, she's the vice president, Marie Mornis. She's been enormously helpful. Tasha Carr up in Larimer. This really lovely lady, Susan Adams, who's down in Clear Creek. I went to her church last week. It's a Baptist church. It was just an amazing, uplifting experience, and I've enjoyed pretty much every minute of it. As a matter of fact, I've kind of even enjoyed some of the more abrasive, confrontational things, but that's just because that's my personality. I don't mind being attacked or fought with.
So why did you decide to run? Because how we were just talking about, HD 49 is a pretty big space, but like the main hub is like the Boulder area, and as like a lot of us know, Boulder is like heavy Democrat, heavy blue, and you're running as a Republican. So like, what like kind of made you kind of run and be like, you know what, I think I can win this?
Well, we were at a meeting it's an offshoot of the Boulder County Republican Women. It's a group called Tapas, and it was started by Kim Monson. She does that radio program in the morning on 510. Excellent program, very early in the morning, covers exclusively issues in Colorado, which is great because, as we all know at this table, you can't get any information about what's going on in Colorado from written press because it's so biased and pathetic. So in this group, it was right around the time when the state assembly was pushing to pass the Reproductive Health Equity Act. And some of the women from our organization were going to go down to the state capitol and testify for it. And so we were listening to some of the testimony. We were having a meeting, and this woman, Teresa Watson, who's head of the Boulder County Republicans, said, "Why don't you run for HD 49? And I said, okay.
You're kind of throwing into it, and then is like, or were you? Did you have thoughts of like doing something like this?
Never. Mostly, no, never. Because I don't have respect for politicians.
That's what I was gonna tell you. That's the answer I wanted to hear. Because
Yeah.
usually if they're like, yeah, I want to run, it's like, then you probably shouldn't be the person we need, you know?
Right.
It's usually the people that don't want to run that are the good ones, I think.
Yeah, or the people who just are so exasperated, they think, how much worse could I possibly do than these people are doing? And I genuinely feel that way. And so I considered it very briefly. I didn't talk to my husband. I didn't talk to my kids. And it would be like you saying, go upstairs and find your favorite cereal in the cupboard and pour yourself a big bowl. I'm like, okay, I'll go do that. Like that's about how much thought I gave to it, and I had no idea of the tentacles into all these communities and places and things I would be obliged to do and things I would want to do and things I wouldn't want to do. But obviously, it's a civil obligation to participate in the governance of your society, whether you're doing it sheerly through voting or whether you're running for office or volunteering in some capacity for, like a zoning board or something like that. The people in Boulder, running Boulder during COVID, were super infuriating. And that was just sitting in the back of my mind. Like, how much worse could it be if someone like I were to run? You know, not that I think I would be bad, but you just, it's hard to take politicians who behave the way some of the politicians do seriously. And so for that reason, I didn't give it a lot of serious thought. You know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll go to the grocery store tomorrow. Oh, I'll run for office. Like, how hard could it be? Look at these guys who are doing it. They're just not that great.
Yeah.
Like, it can't be that big a deal.
They're not setting the bar that high.
No, it's not like someone who, you know, breaks a world record skiing down a mountain. I never would say, oh, yeah, I'll do that, because I don't think I can actually do that. But if someone said, hey, you know, you should run for office, yeah, I should actually do that, because it does, looking at the results, just looking at the raw results, how hard could it be? How hard could it be to be better than them? Not that hard, in my opinion.
So I'm just curious. I mean, because I'm married, I have a wife. How was that conversation like? Where you come home, you're like, hey, you know, we were kind of thinking of going to retirement. Hey, guess what? I'm doing now. I got some. You know, how was that? Was he supportive, or he's just like iffy about it first, or?
I think the way it was somewhat positioned early on was that I had no chance of winning. So it was sort of a gesture to just put everybody on notice. And early on, my strategy, in fact, was, well, maybe all I can do is be that person who stands up and says the thing everybody is thinking that no one else will say, and other Republicans can get the benefit of me just drawing all the fire, but then people hear it and think, well, I don't like her, but maybe they'll vote for all the other Republicans. I think that in my mind early on, that was somewhat of my strategy. Not that you could ever control that kind of strategy, but that I could be like the wild card, you know, this person who just comes in and just kind of strafes the room and just tries to take as many people out, just throwing wild punches, you know? So I think my husband was kind of banking on that being the outcome, that I would, you know, go out there and talk to people and be gone every Friday, every Saturday since the primary for sure, and a lot even before then. And he's winding down and was really, really busy the last 6 months. So it wasn't this sit down, come to Jesus, earnest moment of revelation. Here's what I'm doing. I hope this is okay. But I think he thought, oh, she won't win, just looking at the numbers, the Democrats to the Republicans, and then this big bubble of unaffiliated people. But what's been happening in the last month is people are starting to say, well, you know, you actually could win. And then all the people who've been working so hard on my behalf, they said, well, of course you're going to win. So there are true believers in my camp. But my husband is a very patient person. I married a man very similar to my own father. My mother was very much the person who did pretty much what she wanted when she wanted. She had 6 kids, and when they were all raised, she just did whatever she wanted. And my dad just, you know, he didn't ever have that head of the household syndrome. I'm the man, you got to run it by me. And my husband is basically that same kind of guy.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm wondering, what's one of the biggest challenges that you see that right now is going on in the district that you think that needs to be handled, or that you would handle when you get in office?
Well, there's the political problem, that like trying to win the district, or what are the problems within the district?
No, like what are the problems within the district? Like there's a lot. There's crime, inflation. There's
homelessness, drug use.
What do you think is like the biggest one that you think it like?
Well, it's interesting because much of my district is very, very rural. So Red Feather, Livermore, all those really far west and north cities of Larimer. And then you have Gilpin and Clear Creek, which are mountain towns, but still somewhat rural. But Clear Creek has Idaho Springs and Georgetown. Gilpin doesn't, well, they have Black Hawk and Central City. And then the rest of it is just unincorporated Gilpin. So the problems are really quite different, but I think the best way to encapsulate what is going on in my county, which is really true for the entire state, is that the Front Range, of which I have a big chunk, but not Denver, is perceived by the rest of the state to just be the big bullies. of the rest of the state. Whatever Denver and the Front Range want, that's what's going to happen for the entire state. So if you have people who are really enthusiastic about the Green New Deal, well, that means 8,000 oil and gas workers get laid off in Weld. I don't know, do you have any oil and gas workers out here in Wiggins?
Yeah, there's a lot out here. There's
Yeah.
a lot because, I mean, it's like New Raymer, Kersey. I mean, I was in the oil field myself for...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was a welder for... What were we talking about the other day? I think it was like 9 years.
You were a welder?
Yeah, I was a pipeline welder.
Yeah, my son's a welder.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I still have the rig and everything in the garage. It's
Wow.
Gotta... But yeah, I haven't welded for over a year anymore.
But so Wiggins
I'm
doesn't
stoned.
feel like part of the Front Range, obviously.
Oh no,
No.
out here is rural.
It's rural.
Life out here is way different compared to life in the city, and like it's literally like you just drove into like a different country.
Right, so what's your perception of the Front Range in Denver? I mean, do you feel this kind of big brother bully type of attitude?
I'll let Eric answer because Eric lives in the city, so I'll let him answer how he feels.
Well, I live in Colorado Springs, so Colorado Springs is different than Denver.
Yes.
How I view it is like Denver is kind of like its own little entity, and then pretty much everything else is like separated. Rural life is not the same as city life.
No.
Like it's two complete different worlds, and I think that's one thing that some like politicians kind of miss out on. They want to do everything good for the cities, and that's great.
Right.
It's awesome, but they forget about rural America. They forget about like the rural Americas where the that's
Food
where all
is
the
grown, yeah.
ag and
Agriculture, right?
and all that stuff. Like it's completely different. So how I see it's kind of like Denver metro area. They try to just kind of control Colorado, kind of rule it without really taking into consideration all these like small towns like we have here.
Right, well, so District 49 used to be part of District 13. So my opponent was the incumbent from District 13, but now she's District 49. District 13 used to have Jackson and Grand. And during the last legislative cycle, there's conversations about reintroducing the wolf. And hard opposition among the Democrats in the legislature were pushing the Green New Deal to not preserve water in the state of Colorado and let it flow down into Nebraska. And, Jared Polis and his partner are very hostile to beef, even though he tries to pretend he's not. So these are all kind of known entities within the state assembly, and it's a very measurable attitude that people in my district know. So to go up to Jackson and tell people, well, it'll be good for the state of Colorado to have wolves reintroduced. Well, maybe it's not so good for the ranchers in Grand and Jackson.
To tell you the truth, I don't think it's good for anybody.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what you think. I don't think it's good on anybody, honestly. Because I don't know what their point is. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but I don't know what their point is to introduce the wolves. Because a lot of things that Colorado pulls is like for hunting and stuff like that. If the wolves are here, there's not going to be no hunting. There's going to be less hunting. Or if you go out on a hike, I don't know if you guys seen, it was a couple years ago, some guy, he was hiking and he choked out a mountain lion or something like that. So, and that was like around, was it like Boulder? Was it around that?
I think it
I
might have
remember
been
there
around,
was one, the guy who stabbed it with a pen.
What? I don't remember. Well, it's somewhere over there. But it's like, I don't think you can do that. I mean, wolves, they usually go in packs.
Yeah.
So
They go in packs.
that's not going to happen.
Well, they have this idea. It's a component of the true believers of the Green New Deal that biodiversity is important. You read in Boulder anytime someone types something on Nextdoor. Oh, there was a mountain lion in my backyard. Well, just remember they were here first. And I was like, well, what does that actually mean? Like, where are we supposed to be? Where's our spot? Like, they have this spot, which includes anything without a building on it, basically. That it's good for Boulder to have mountain lions roaming through the neighborhoods and grabbing people's dogs, or which happens every year. And usually there's some rogue young male lion who hasn't learned to take down a deer, and so they grab somebody's dog. But that's always the comment back, and it's just such a weird thing. I never ask where are humans? Where's our habitat? Like what is that? Because are you going to say the cities? Well, the cities were originally vacant too. So we're just supposed to carve off some little concrete section and live there, and everything else is for the wild kingdom. I mean, it's just an ill-conceived, ill-developed notion about biodiversity and the intersection between humans and these animals. But it was a tough sell in that part of her district. So now she has a new tough sell. And her new tough sell is just being pretty much the legislator who's primarily concerned with mental health, which is not a bad concern to have, and climate change in the face of really difficult circumstances for people living in her district. I mean, really, I went to Target today. I haven't been to Target in I don't know how long. I thought to myself, I probably spent, $80, and because I was paying cash, so I started pulling it out. No, it was $150. Like the eggs I bought, it was like 2 dozen, $5.
It's crazy.
Crazy. Wow. $5. And it wasn't the fancy ones where the chickens ate bugs.
Like
it was just No, it's just the regular ones. And so I thought, okay, I can swing this, but there are people who literally cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are real issues in play, and they really have no answer to it. They've been at it. They've made things worse. They won't admit they made things worse, and that's what this election is about. You made things worse. I'm calling you out on it. You have no response other than to say you're only worried about climate and the mentally ill, and I'm telling you, you changed a drug law that has resulted in a doubling of the overdose death rates, and you have no response for that. You're just give them Narcan and test strips.
Yeah. So I mean, I just got thinking, like when you said she was in District 13.
Yeah,
so
she's the incumbent.
So did she just get transferred to like? 49?
Yeah, that's right, because she lives in 49.
And
so
is that Judith?
So did she?
Judy, Judy Amabile.
Did she just get like a free pass then to 49?
She gets to run as an incumbent. She doesn't, she can run. She's free to run, but she has incumbent status just by virtue of having been in the state assembly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she still has to beat me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I was just kind of confused on that a little bit.
She's not the incumbent for 49. Mike Lynch is the incumbent for 49, and he's up out of Wellington. So he went further east, and the district went further west. But it's very, very big. But the big bubble is the unaffiliated, and they are hopping mad with good reason.
So what are like some of the top issues you kind of like you're running for, kind of like speaking out like against, that you think that you can that you see that you can improve and that you can make better?
I gotta take this coat off. I got really hot. It must be all this gear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting worked up. I would recriminalize possession of meth, heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl. We're number 1 for cocaine use in the country. Obviously, we're number 2 in fentanyl deaths. Jared Polis last night in the debate tried to say, no, that's not true. We're 26th. And it would be really great if someone would say, can you cite a source for that piece of information? But he didn't. But I am running on repealing House Bill 1263. That's first and foremost. I think that we are a beacon to illicit drug users throughout the country. I think they come here to use and deal drugs and to live a life of criminality. They commit property crimes to sustain their drug habit. They run chop shops. And it's just caused mayhem and pandemonium and misery for everybody. I was in King Soopers yesterday, and I was walking into the store, and those self-checkout aisles and there's a path through the middle so people can move to one side or the other. And I see this dude coming toward me, and I know he looks like the black bloc guy. He's like, you couldn't recognize him from how he's dressed. And he's carrying one of the little hand baskets filled with all his stuff. And he's walking toward me, and he walks past me, and he just doesn't pay for any of it. And so I start yelling at him, hey, you're a thief. That guy's stealing. And, 2 of the King Soopers employees try to come running to the door. And they, I ran out, and I'm calling to him. I'm like, I got you on camera. I'm filming you. You're a thief. And he's just looking at me over his shoulder, riding away. So
he just left and they didn't.
He just left. No, this happens all the time. They're told don't confront anybody. Yes,
it's because
I've seen it.
It's like California. It's less than what, $1,000.
I think it's like in California, less than $1,000 you steal, you can get away with.
It's like the Monopoly game. You get a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Like, here you go.
Yeah, they give zero shits, zero. And so the woman who worked there, she didn't live in Boulder, and I said to her, "It must make you so mad to come into work. It's demoralizing to work somewhere where people come in and steal in front of your eyes and your bosses tell you you cannot confront them, you cannot tackle them, you cannot do anything. Nothing." And so it's not just the stealing. It's not just that it's bad for the store. It's bad for the people who work in the store. It's bad for the other shoppers. It's bad for everybody. And so I think, so answering your question, I would repeal House Bill 1263. I listened to the testimony last May in the State Assembly where they were debating bringing it back down from 4 grams to 1. And, all the crying and carrying on, kids will have fentanyl in their pocket and they won't know it's fentanyl. And I'm thinking, so you're more worried about them going to jail than dying. 2 milligrams in a Xanax, trace amount of fentanyl in a Xanax could kill somebody. They might not know. The objective is not to take the 16-year-old with a contaminated Xanax to jail. That's not the goal. The goal is to terrify her into not buying it. And the goal is to dry up the source of it on the streets. And then I think other things will click into place into a realm of normalcy. I think we'll have less crime. I think we'll have less hardcore transients living on the creeks, in the public parks, like what you saw that day we made the video. I mean, that's disgusting.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, and then just kind of to confirm kind of like your point we were talking about, because I pulled it up, the crimes against like property, personal property. Yeah, we're actually, in 2020, we were 4th in the nation. Mm-hmm. 2021, we're 2nd. 2022, we're 2nd.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're not... I guess I don't know if we're trying to get first place, get the first place ribbon or what, but yeah, just to kind of like confirm, like we actually. And they
have no defense.
So people can.
They have no defense, and then so you say that to them, and they literally have nothing to say. And I'm thinking to myself, why would anybody vote for you? It's not like a hurricane came through and all this bad stuff happened that you can't blame on anybody. They wrote this bill. They passed this bill. Assault. If I hit you in the face, if I just stood up and hit you in the face.
Do it.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
If you didn't need medical attention, that's misdemeanor assault. Meaning I get a summons, probably a fine, no jail time. Why should anyone be allowed to lay hands on someone? And then it's just only a bad crime if you really get injured. What's the objective of that? Well, we know their objective was to lower incarceration rates. Well, that can't be the only objective. That's like a violation of the Hippocratic Oath. They're doing a lot of harm. They're it'd be like just looking, we all know equations. There's an equal sign in the middle, and there's something on each side. Well, when the Democrats write a bill, there's only things on one half of this. There's nothing else on the equal sign. It equals a big negative number that they never compute because they're like little children.
So right now you could have up to like 4 grams. 4 grams.
4 grams of meth, heroin, and cocaine. Now it's just down to 1 gram of fentanyl. But now it's like this measuring game.
So they won't arrest you or anything for it, or they won't.
No, they'll give you a summons.
But my question is, why even allow any at all? Because then you
that's an excellent question.
You allow them to have some of it,
right?
So then that just opens up the doors. Like I can already have some of it. Why not just get even more?
Well, I'll just give you a quick analogy. It's like when we're young, you tell your parents like, hey, I'm going with my friends, we're going to go to the theater. They're like, all right, be back by 8. You're not back by 8. You're back by 8:30, 9,
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of translates to this, like, yeah, you can't have 4 or whatever, whatever their numbers, they keep changing. So you're like, okay, I'll just keep under this because under this, I'm good. So it's like, is it really solving anything?
It's just like inviting more of it to come into the city.
Of course. We went down to the library, and there's cars in the lot in the early morning before the library is open from West Virginia, Alabama. Because if you're in Alabama, they're going to throw your ass in jail if you have 4 grams of meth. They're like, you go into the big house. So if I'm a drug addict, why would I stay in Alabama when I can go to Colorado? It's pretty pleasant much of the year. And then you can, the churches in Boulder will give you the tents. You can go up to the shelter. You can check in for services. You can get some hot meals. And I'm not saying we don't want to be charitable, but this has invited every criminal who wants to live that kind of rock and roll, hardcore, druggy lifestyle. And I had my nephew who died. That's the lifestyle he lived until he died. He was only 23. Why would you encourage somebody? And, when I spoke at the Baptist Church in Clear Creek, and this is really the fundamental point with why I broke with the libertarians on just saying, whatever drugs, you want to do drugs, that's your business. What happens when people are drug addicts is they have no free will. So you're a drug addict and you have a little tiny baby, and your addiction dominates you. You can't take care of your child. You don't go to work. You don't go to church. You neglect the things that make your life meaningful. And why do we want to encourage people to live in the world when they only have one relationship, and that's with their drugs? Yeah.
Sometimes it gets to a point when I just kind of think about it. It's like, it's about being like a community. If you have bad people in the community, it's going to make a bad environment. So it's just a trickle down effect. So it's like that. You see, there's drugs on the street, there's homelessness, there's like all this stuff, and you're just.
Or I was going to say, especially when you're inviting it in, if they're handing out tents, giving everybody hot meals, word spreads around like, oh, come here, you can have drugs, you can have free tents, and you can have free hot meals. You can live here for free and be doing drugs.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about it. I like to do analogies, so sorry if my analogies aren't that good if you don't like them.
No, but for a lot of people it helps because it doesn't click until they see the impact through the analogy better than they do from the actual thing you're discussing.
Yeah, but it's like you give, like Eric's saying, they give tents and stuff. Just back to your parents, like, you just go in, you blew all your money, you're just like, hey, Dad, I need some more money. Mm-hmm. It's like, what happened to the rest? Oh, it's gone. Okay, here you go. Make sure you take care of this one.
Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. I'll be back tomorrow for some more.
Well, what would your dad have said to you?
No, my dad wouldn't give me any.
No.
No, my dad, he would have gave me any.
My dad wouldn't have either. My husband would give my kids money, but he's, he grew up poor, so he feels flush. But no, that's a good analogy. In Denver, they're going to do this pilot program where they're going to give people cash. And these are people who don't have a home that they have to pay rent on. So they have no cash obligations. They can eat for free. They live in open air markets of sorts. So I don't know. I think when I was 10, if someone had said to me, we're going to give people addicted to drugs cash and they don't have to pay for anything else because everything else is free. What do you think they're going to spend that money on? I'm like, I don't know. Is this a trick question? I think they're going to be buying a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
Drugs.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're going to do instead of having like a food stamp card, something that they could only use to spend on the stuff they actually need, not fucking drugs.
Yeah. But why don't we just give them the drugs?
It'd be easier.
Why?
Well, isn't that what they're trying to do? Like, hey, we want you to drug yourself safe, so just come here and we'll
safe injection sites.
Yeah. So like what? Like, I completely understand that point, like 100%. But then you got to look at the other point too. It's like some of them. I mean, it sucks, but they're like They're broken people. Like that are homeless without a house or they're doing drugs. Something happened, that they're broken people. But it's like just giving them more of what they're already like doing that's not good for them. It's not solving anything.
Well, because the big debate is there's the school of thought that's housing first and harm reduction. So that's what all the freaks in Boulder who want to get them off the streets into housing. And the attitude is what they need first and foremost is a place to live. no sobriety requirements, no work requirement. So people such as myself, I'm opposed to that, of course, because I think sobriety has to be first. So then the opposing point of view is like Michael Schellenberger, who wrote the book San Francisco. And you can like look it up. Oddly enough, yesterday I was laying down the afternoon of the debate, I was laying down and I was just flipping around the channels, and Michael Schellenberg was on Dr. Phil. Can you imagine? I never watched Dr. Phil. And they had this ex-drug addict and some guy named Stuart Weiner, who's an assemblyman from California.
Beautiful name.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, I just can't take you seriously. And anyway, they were both talking about how housing is the thing. You have to teach people with dignity and compassion. And they're all for safe injection sites. They're all for housing. And my attitude is, okay, again, if you're a Democrat, you only count up this part of the equation, like, oh, we're going to keep people from ODing. But that safe injection site goes somewhere in a community. Is it next to the Walgreens? Is it down the block from the nursery school? What are the drug addicts doing in between shooting meth in the safe injection site? Are they roaming through neighborhoods looking for things to steal so they can go buy some more meth to go back to the safe injection site? It's not just the episode of the injection. It's the entire lifestyle and the full impact that it has on the community. I was walking my dog in the neighborhood downtown near one of my rental properties, and I found this baby stroller, a very nice baby stroller, filled with the most revolting shit. It had obviously been stolen and was being used to move some transient's crap around. And then when he was done with it, he just left it. And then somebody is going to have to like pick it up and throw it away and handle it. And I'm thinking, what if there was 50 of those on a block in a given day? Or like how much? And they never say, well, what the threshold is at a safe injection site. How many times a day can you go there and shoot up? 10? 20?
Yeah.
It's just this pie in the sky, as though the only thing that matters is someone not ODing. Well, a lot of other things matter as well. Yes, we don't want people to OD.
Yeah. Can I play devil's advocate a little bit?
Sure, of course.
So I guess we're talking about that's the problem, and then for like every problem, I think we have what's the solution?
Recriminalize it and put people in jail.
Because then people could make the argument like, oh, the jails are going to be way too full. Then we don't have the government funds for that. Like,
well, I think a certain number of people would stop coming to Colorado, stay in Alabama, go to jail in Alabama.
So like those cars you were saying that with like the license plates, that was people just hanging out in their cars.
Yeah, they live in their car. I saw one guy just shooting up. He opened the car door, getting himself ready, take his drugs. The day we were down at the bus stop, they were shooting up on the bench.
Oh yeah.
I mean, his car was, where was his car from? I think it was West Virginia. And then there was a car across the on the other side of the library. It was from Alabama. The windshield was smashed in. And then later on that week on Nextdoor, I saw somebody saying that seen that same car up the canyon camping and like starting a little fire on the side of the road, and they called the police, and because you can't have that up there. I mean, it's just extremely dangerous. So so that's a good question for the devil's advocate, but I think encouraging people to be their worst version of themselves is I just can't accept it as a policy for any society that wants to produce people who live dignified, meaningful lives. Like maybe your job is only, I don't know, mowing lawns at the high schools. What's wrong with that? I mean, all work is meaningful. All work is dignified. What's not dignified is to rob and steal just so you can be a drug addict. It's not dignified for you. It's not dignified for society.
Yeah, for sure. Another kind of like another thing I wanted your take on was about like the education system in your district.
Well,
I know you have some strong opinions about that.
I sure do.
Especially around the last couple of years when it went from the whole COVID transition to like now.
There was like whole COVID transition, and there was also an attempted recall that didn't go well.
Correct.
That went down.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Just the whole situation kind of that's going on right now?
Well, what happened during COVID and COVID was very hard, but what people got was a bird's eye view of what's going on in their schools, in their classrooms. And they didn't like it. There were a couple of variables. They didn't like how the school board was pretty tyrannical and pretty unfeeling about their implemented policies. So first of all, it was first, everybody does school from home, send all the kids home. Well, it has this enormous, ripple effect for parents who work. And Boulder's pretty affluent. A lot of the women don't work. They can hire tutors to come in and help with their kids. But there are a lot of people who can't. So what happens to those kids? Do they go to daycare? Do they stay home alone? So the school board, we have what I think of. If you pull up our school board now, there's just been this abrupt hijacking. And when my kids were coming up through middle school and high school, the big left-wing push they were making was trying to terrify all the kids that the polar bears were dying and, the world's ending. Go home and tell your parents to put in low-flow water faucets and save the planet, and getting the kids all hysterical to the point where my daughter, this is funny, but it's kind of sad. She's a very smart person. She was trying to tell me CO2 is a pollution. And I'm like, no, you need CO2.
Yeah.
You look at every weed grower, they go buy those canisters and they pump the CO2 into their, because that's what makes things grow.
Cycle, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cycle. So, but they've taught them that CO2 is bad, or that it's, it's a pollution like sulfur or something. So anyway, they tried to do this recall. It did not go through. It was very vicious, very ugly. And that was before I was really paying that much attention to school boards. But the people in Tapas who had kids in school, the Tapas women's group, were very upset over, they would say they're going to present data on when you could come back in person and when you wouldn't have to wear a mask. And then the data never emerged. We now know the data didn't emerge because there was no data. They didn't actually have any data. They were making it up. The masks don't protect the person. And these poor kids sitting in school trying to learn to read, and their faces are covered, the teacher's face is covered. They don't, it's just this implosion of outcomes. So our school board now, if you log into Boulder Valley, you could pull it up right now. It's got a big rainbow flag on the page, and it's all about inclusivity and diversity. And we have a woman on our school board, Lisa Sweeney Moran, who I just think is quite... I don't know how strongly I want to put it, but she has got to go. Let's just put it that way. She has got to go. And she's an activist. She's suing the city. She's a plaintiff in a claim against the city of Boulder, and she's being represented by the ACLU. She's representing the homeless in Boulder. So she's a homeless activist. So what I think is when I go to the state assembly, I am going to force Jared Polis, if he's governor, hopefully he wouldn't be, to sign the Parents' Bill of Rights and push for vouchers, because I really think the opinions among parents, if you listen to school board meetings from all over the country, I was listening in North Carolina, Michigan, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, they're all unhappy. And there's not really a way to reconcile the way they're unhappy and what is being pushed. So specifically, it's certain types of pornographic books, like cartoon, This Book is Gay was on the shelves of a 7th grade classroom, very explicit about male gay sex acts, coaching them how to do it. And the parents don't want that book in 7th grade. And it's one thing if your 7th grader goes out and finds it on his own, which kids find all kinds of stuff. But to have it on the bookshelf in the classroom, that's something quite, would you have Hustler in the class? When they try and say it's not pornographic, it reads just like a little porno story that you would read in Hustler.
It's like having 50 Shades of Grey on the bookshelves for middle schoolers.
Like, we're going to have, now one of the requirements for school is going to be you have to watch the movie Scarface to get it through. It's stuff if you think about it, it's
that's one thing
that's so funny, ridiculous, but it's
it's ridiculous.
That's one thing I don't understand. why would people be opposed to a parent's bill of rights? That's just giving parents kind of a say and to kind of have like what their kids learn in school, like not control everything, obviously, because there's certain things that kids should learn, but they should have a say into like the limits of how far the teachers are gonna go.
I mean, yeah, obviously, but when you look at the Democrat Party, so my opponent has raised, I think, about $60,000, but she's raised it from PACs, one of them being the teachers union, which can give, I don't even know how much they can give to a state candidate. I think like $5,000. So for me to raise $5,000, it's $20 here, $100. That's a huge amount of work. And it represents a lot more people, but it's the reason they don't want a parent's bill of rights is because they do not want government-funded schools to have to compete for students with Catholic schools or Montessori schools or Waldorf schools. I mean, I would never in a million years send my kid to a Waldorf school. I think they're weird. I don't like the manner in which they teach. It's super experiential. It's they don't learn to read until very, very late. But I completely accept that some people do. And I think if someone wants to go to Waldorf, why can't they take their education dollars and go to a Waldorf school? I mean, a parent's bill of rights only functions in the realm of there still being government schools, because it only would apply to government schools. Ultimately, I think, I mean, Arizona just passed vouchers. They actually have vouchers for the kids. And I don't understand why anybody thinks there shouldn't be vouchers. Well, the people who don't are people who are beholden to the teachers' unions. And what I don't understand is why teachers think they can't compete. Like if I'm a really good teacher and all of a sudden they say, oh, you're going to have to compete against Monico.
Well, they're going to lose.
Yeah,
they're going to lose.
Right, they're going to lose. But either you think you're good enough,
yeah,
or you're not. So go compete for those students.
Competition is only going to make everybody better.
Absolutely.
That was the question I had. So do you think it's like the whole Democratic Party itself doing that, or do you think there's some individuals that are trying to push that because they live like a sorry life, and they're the ones trying to push that because when they're young or they were doing something, it's messed up to say, but they're like maybe the ugly girl that nobody wanted to talk to or something, and now they feel like I got power and I'm not letting this go now. Because I feel like to a point it's kind of like that, like because now they're just like, oh, it's my turn now. Like,
have you ever seen that?
Yeah,
like that person emerging in a powerful position in a school? Have you ever witnessed that?
You hear about it all the time. Like you can see it because I mean I've gone to school I mean I don't want to throw names, but I mean you see it, and then they get to like a position of power or like in a job. It doesn't have to be just in the schools, like in a job, and then they're just like, all right, now you're listening. I'm here now. You're gonna listen to me now. Mm-hmm. They want to like. They have this list of like 3 years ago. Remember when you did, now it's
human nature. It's just the exact way.
Ego. They get the ego
it's
going.
It's the exact same thing as Lord of the Flies. I don't know if you guys read that book, but it's kind of the same thing.
It's one of my favorites, actually.
So what is it? I mean, I haven't. What?
You've never read it? Did you guys go to different schools?
No,
I didn't read in school.
He didn't do it.
If you would have met me when I was 17, you'd have been like this.
You were hood ratting it up.
Yeah. Bad.
Well, that happens. But, life is long. You just keep playing. You just keep going. You could read it now.
Yeah, I'm going to.
It is an awesome book. Well, why don't you tell them what it's about?
I don't know if I remember it exactly correctly because it was a few years ago that I read it. But it's basically like a metaphor of rebuilding society from scratch.
Correct. That's exactly right.
And how when someone gets power, they lose it and they just take control and just go ape shit.
So it sounds like your government right now.
Well, it's like a group of boys stranded on a island. Their ship crashes. Mm-hmm. It's like these boarding schools from England, a boarding school from England. Mm-hmm. And then they're trying to figure out how to survive and stay alive. And of course they break into factions right away, and they try to implement rules, and then one group gains a little more power. They're a little more physically violent. And, I mean, power, I could see where power would become kind of an insatiable thing that people would seek to have. I think there are a lot of teachers, not teachers per se, but administrators. When you listen to some of these school board meetings and you look at the people testifying who are the teachers, and they just clearly do not want anyone telling them what books can be in their classroom. And I understand that they've had kind of a free ride in these government schools where they've had a lot of say and a lot of authority and a lot of power, and parents they're just not having it. The really interesting one was Dearborn, Michigan, which Dearborn, Michigan is very heavily populated with Muslims who are coming together with the Christian right because they don't want hypersexualization of the children. And that in and of itself is a very dark thing to think about, that somebody would want to hypersexualize a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old. And for that reason, I think my advice to people, if you can do it, is to pull your kids out of public school. I think there's a lost innocence in some of the agenda of the people running, the administrative component of public schools. And I don't trust them. I wouldn't trust them. I would spend all my money to shove my kids into Catholic school. That's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, and that's another big difference between cities and rural, just America. In the cities, I can totally see that happening, but in rural America, like here, what we got, it's public schools is all they got, so
right.
People actually care and they'll actually pay attention. So I feel like just the schools around here are a lot like just better off than schools in the cities or whatever, because people are just active.
Yeah, they're way better. Like here, like where I live and stuff, like I've said it multiple times, they have signs there that say our teachers carry. So it's like the teachers carry is like, I mean, that's awesome. Like I feel
you feel like your kids better. Are safe.
Yeah. And your kids and the community as itself too, because usually the bad stuff, they like, if someone wants to do bad stuff somewhere, they're gonna go like to where there's no protection. You're not gonna go somewhere where they're loaded with guns. Let me go rob that bank or something. There's guns everywhere. The banks don't have guns; they just have cameras.
Oh no!
So it's
it's funny.
It's like stuff like that. Like with school, like if they have guns everywhere, you're just like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna go there.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to hear that about rural Colorado, and I believe that's true. It's smaller, and it's probably more intimate. There's fewer kids, fewer schools, more parent-teacher communication that's more direct, and maybe you're not as top-heavy with the administration like probably some of the city schools. But I will say that if the teachers are unionized, they have to kick money up to the teachers union, which is really just a fundraising branch of the Democrat Party. The teachers union will never give me money. I mean, I don't blame them. I wouldn't give me money either if I was them, and I would be loath to take it because I don't support their role. I think they represent the Democrats. They do not represent the kids, which isn't to say that I don't think teachers need some protections, because I absolutely do. I do need to make that point clear. There are a lot of freaks who are parents who could make all kinds of wild allegations against a teacher because it's a very intimate thing, right? To be taking care of someone's 6-year-old, and the 6-year-old could come home and say something that may be wildly untrue. And then you're the teacher, you're all of a sudden in the hot seat. And it would be very difficult for a teacher to defend themselves against a wild accusation. And so you do need the protection, I believe, of a union. The problem is with this particular union, it's all about the Democrat Party and getting them elected, less about the teachers and absolutely not at all about the kids. And it's really rather shameful.
Yeah. So Katie, for the people who want to learn more about you or want to, support you, where can they find you?
Katie for HD49.com. That's my website. You can follow me on Facebook. I do have a YouTube channel now where your amazing video has been published. We're going to hopefully get some more content on there.
That's great.
How did the Parents' Bill of Rights video, how's that coming?
Oh yeah, it's here. We're pretty
Yeah,
much.
it-
We
it's-
got something for you right now.
Okay, cool.
We'll
Yeah.
show you that. And
Do you have any final words for people who are listening, who are
it's coming around the corner. Some final thoughts for people to
Coming around the corner. Well, America's a great country. It's a great place. It should be a melting pot. It's a bit more of a salad bowl now, and right?
I like
it's more of
that
a salad
analogy.
bowl. Yeah, some carrots, some where people can fish out the parts they don't like, and it's a culture worth saving. There's some really beautiful things. We've made some historical errors. Obviously, we're not a perfect country. We're not a perfect people. Why should we be? Nothing is perfect. But anywhere in the world, we're still a beacon of hope and opportunity and promise. And I am sad that young people are so discouraged and anxious and nervous and upset and don't feel optimistic. And I think a lot of it has to do with the really horrible leadership we've had in this country, and I can see why they're anxious when you look around at the people running the show. It's really kind of astonishing and alarming. You think, oh, they're in charge?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm way smarter than that guy, right? So, but keep the faith and, do your homework, do the right thing, and get out there and vote. And just remember, you can't just vote for your favorite people. Your favorite people can only get elected and be effective if they go in as a caucus. So I'm obviously pushing the straight Republican ticket this year. I think it's essential that the Democrats be kicked out and put to the curb so that we can clean up this enormous mess they have made.
And come and clean Colorado. That's
Come clean, Colorado. Come on, you got to do the right thing.
do the right thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, we'll have all your links down below, in the description, so people can check you out and all that stuff. But thank you for taking time out of your
It
busy
was
schedule.
fun. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
I've never done this. My first maiden voyage.
There you go.
There you go. So
Okay.
guys, if we brought you value, if you learned something, if we made you laugh, if we made you think, the only fee we have for the show is if you share with at least one other person. That's the only thing. The only fee we have for the show. If you've stayed this long, I know you guys are already subscribed. You guys already clicked that like button. So guys, we will see you next time. And remember that listening to the Totem Podcast is an act of rebellion.
We'll see you later, guys. Thanks.
Yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.